I'm so thankful that my friends Susan Collins and Jon Tester are here. We may be expecting Senator Risch in a moment, and all these advocates here. You're going to hear today from some pretty incredible surviving spouses, like Kathy Milford from Mobile, Alabama, Yassine Wade from Reston, Virginia. Kathy, in fact, was so dedicated to be here today, she changed her flight from Alabama just to come here and to thank you, Kathy, so much for all you're doing on this important issues. We've got leaders like Bonnie Carroll, the president of founder of TAPS, Carlos Fuentes, the legislative director for the VFW. But more importantly, we're joined here by dozens of other surviving spouses who are here this week to storm the Hill and advocate for policies that are vital to military families, especially the military widow's tax. I have to tell you, folks, that when I got to the Senate, I didn't know about this widow's tax. Like so many Americans, I had no idea what was happening with this widow tax and the impact that it's had on families. It's really a shameful policy that has been impacting some 65,000 surviving military spouses. I didn't know about this until advocates like those behind me came up to my offices and discussed it, of how it affects people across the country and in my state. Sadly, they've been doing this for any number of years, coming up here every year to try to tell this story to members of Congress and to the public, and they've been doing it for far too long. The problem has persisted without a solution. So for those of you who might be new to the issue, let me briefly explain. Essentially, the problem is this. The federal government is trying to save a few bucks by completely ripping off military widows and widowers whose families paid extra to opt in to an additional life insurance plan. It's their money. All military spouses whose loved ones die from service-related causes are able to collect survivor benefits. But military families can also choose to pay an extra into an additional insurance plan offered by the Department of Defense, just like the kind of policy private citizens would take out to ensure our loved ones were well taken care of long after we're gone. The problem has been that right now, the government doesn't let spouses collect the full benefit from both programs. Instead, they subtract the annuity from basic survivor benefits that folks are entitled to. These grieving families who voluntarily paid out of pocket for the extra benefit are penalized. Thus, it's called the widow's tax. It's not just active duty families that are hurt by this either. It can impact anyone who has a service-related death. In my home state alone, it has the potential of impacting 60,000 Department of Defense retirees and their families. They could be at risk, and most of them may not even know it. So we're here today to fight for military families whose loved ones gave all on behalf of a grateful nation. We're here to call for passage of our bill to finally pass the legislation in recognition of the tremendous sacrifices these families make every day. We're here to honor our contract with the people who raise their hands in service to a grateful nation. We're here all prepared to honor these men and women coming Monday for Memorial Day. But we need to let our actions here in Congress speak louder than our words. With that, I've got three of my colleagues here, as I mentioned, Senator Collins from Maine, Senator Tester from Montana, Senator Risch joined us from Idaho. I appreciate it. I'm going to let each of them speak, and then we'll hear from a couple of the other advocates. Susan?
Thank you very much, Doug. Almost had the same thing happen, but I know Senator Tester would have been right there, ready to grab it for me.
Quick as a cat.
Exactly. I am very pleased to be here today with my three colleagues, Senator Jones, Senator Tester, and Senator Risch, as we seek to correct an inequity that has been in our laws for many years. We have a duty to not only support the brave men and women in our military, but also to support their families. This unfair law is currently preventing as many as 65,000 surviving spouses from receiving the full benefits to which they are entitled. I also want to thank the veteran service organizations and the many advocates who are here with us today. Each of them has worked so diligently to advance this bill and to shine a powerful light on this terrible problem. Their work has been instrumental in securing the support of a record number of co-sponsors in the Senate. I believe we have a total of 67 senators who have now signed on to this bill, along with nearly 300 House co-sponsors. I want to emphasize a point that Senator Jones made, and that is just how unfair this is. Service members have the option of purchasing a special annuity to take care of the survivors should they die in the line of duty or from service-connected causes. They buy this benefit, this annuity, with their own money. In addition, there is an indemnification award that is provided for those who die in the line of duty from the VA. It makes absolutely no sense that there is an offset that applies when service members are using their own funds to purchase this extra insurance. And that is the inequity that we are trying to correct. In some cases, this actually leads to the total elimination of the benefit of the annuity. In other cases, it greatly reduces it. In either case, it is out and out unfair. I'm encouraged this year by the groundswell of support. This year, let's make it the year we get the job done. I'd now like to introduce my colleague, Senator Tester. And I'd be happy to hold your hand.
Well, thank you, Susan. Thank you, Senator Jones, for your remarks. And thank you, Senator Risch, for being here. For as long as the men and women have served our nation in uniform, military spouses and families have courageously stood alongside them. Their love and the courage that they give our troops the support they need to keep this nation safe. And when our service members pay the ultimate sacrifice, serving our nation, it's our duty to make sure those loved ones are taken care of, that they have the security that they've earned, deserved, and planned for, but that is not what is happening right now. Right now, as you all know, when a service member dies in the line of duty, their spouse receives something called dependency and indemnity compensation through the VA. This is a monthly benefit that all military widows receive regardless of the serviceman's grade or length of service. Now, it can't replace a fraction of what they've lost, but is a small token of appreciation of a grateful nation. Separately, the military retiree, as Senator Collins has said, can pay into a survivor benefit plan, which basically acts as an annuity program administered through the DoD. These two programs have nothing. They have nothing to do with one another. One is earned, non-transferable, and tax-exempt. The other is elective, supported by premiums, transferable, and subject to taxes. But the military widow cannot receive both benefits, at least not in full. That's because these two benefits offset one another, subjecting Gold Star spouses to a widow's tax. This must change. Gold Star families have endured unimaginable pain on behalf of our nation. In return for the life of a loved one, our country provides these grieving families with basic financial support. Unfortunately, right now, these Gold Star families are having these basic benefits slashed. This bill is pretty simple. It would correct that. The bill has 67 Senate co-sponsors. The bill has unprecedented bipartisan support, and I call upon the majority leader to bring this bill to the floor for a vote. Today would not be too soon. So let's get this done. We have a bipartisan group here. It's not a partisan issue. It's simply the right thing to do. So let's get her done. And with that, I introduce to you this great senator from Idaho, Senator Risch.
Thank you, John. Thank you for coming here today. By now, you've all heard the problem. This is the United States government acting at its worst. We do things here frequently which aren't good. This is unfair. It's indeed outrageous for someone who's actually paid the premiums and can't get the benefits to which they were promised. The group of people we're talking about are America's finest. These are people who raised their hand, took an oath to defend this country, and yes, were willing to give pay the ultimate price if necessary. And some have done that. This is just unfair, and it's amazing we only have 67 co-sponsors. It is just simply not right. These are real people with a real problem. And anyone who doubts that, they should sit down with some people from their state, or in the case of the House, from their district, and talk to them about the problems that they're facing. This is a for real people problem. And admittedly, it doesn't affect a wide swath of people in all of our areas that we represent, but it does greatly affect the people who need our help. So with that, I have every confidence with this coalition that we have. As you can see, it is a broad spectrum, not only politically, but dare I say philosophically here in the Senate. We're going to get this done. Thank you so much for coming.
Good. Kathy, you want to come up?
Hello, I'm Kathy Milford. I'm from Mobile, Alabama, and I'm quite humbled to be here. The widow's tax is an issue that I've been dealing with for over 25 years because my husband died 3 months after retiring from the U.S. Coast Guard. He was only 47, and he died suddenly of a condition we didn't realize he had and must have had for some time. This military widow's elimination tax would restore the benefit that my husband paid for with his service, with his life, and with monthly premiums. Today we're here to honor him and all of the service members by advocating for a bill that will finally pay the debt owed to them and their loved ones. Now, while I'm here to speak for myself, I'm also here to speak on behalf of those who don't have a voice in this debate. I'm here to speak on behalf of those widows and widowers that don't even know they're impacted by this tax. I'm here to speak on behalf of those who tragically in the future may find themselves in the same position I'm in. This issue has gone unresolved way too long, and it's easy for us to start thinking that the people in Washington just don't care about our families. But I'm so grateful that my senator from Alabama, Senator Jones, has taken the lead to correct this egregious inequity. And because of his efforts and the efforts of others here, we're seeing more momentum on this issue than we've ever seen before. And I can tell you that it makes us be filled with hope. I want to thank all the members of Congress who have co-sponsored the bill in the Senate and in the House, because these bills will honor our spouses who faithfully served this country and kept Americans safe. Thank you, and let's please keep fighting to get this bill passed and signed into law. Thank you.
Thank you. Yassine?
Good morning. My name is Yassine Wade, and I was the wife of Naval Lieutenant Daniel James Wade. He died in March of 2015. I'm also a mother of 3 amazing boys, Daniel, Jaden, and Micah. Raising kids is hard, but raising grieving children is even more difficult. With Daniel gone, I'm trying to be both mom and the dad. I'm learning, but there's some things I can't do without the help of both the Survivor Benefits Plan and the Dependency Indemnity Compensation. Survivor Benefits Plan is an elected program we paid into. These are the benefits we paid for and are entitled to as Gold Star families. I'm here to tell my story about how military families have been impacted by the SBP and DIC offset. I'm here today because the widow tax has been a burden to families in the military community. because SBP and DIC offsets are felt every month by Gold Star families, similar to mine, who should be able to be using that money to raise their families. Money that was supposed to help provide for our families. The Senate Bill 622 will guarantee our benefits are no longer offset, and we will be able to receive the full benefits Daniel expected his family to have. We paid the ultimate sacrifice. I want to give my sincere thanks to Senator Jones and Senator Collins on behalf of all the military families for sponsoring and supporting this legislation. On behalf of military families, I encourage Congress to fund the Senate Bill 622. It's not just the honorable thing to do, it's the right thing to do. Thank you.
All right, next, Bonnie.
Thank you so much. I am a military widow and I am an Air Force veteran. The Tragedy Assistance Program, which I founded after my husband's tragic death in an Army aviation accident, is the leading national organization for all those grieving the death of a military loved one. I'd like to thank Senator Jones for introducing the Military Widows Tax Elimination Act of 2019, S622. And TAPS is extremely grateful to his hardworking staff and the original 28 co-sponsors of this Senate bill. My staff and others within the military and veterans community have been working diligently to garner further congressional support to finally eliminate the SBP DIC offset. This important legislation now has 66 Senate co-sponsors, making it the largest Senate SBP DIC offset co-sponsorship to date. Bipartisan bills have been introduced in both houses of Congress for the last 18 years, but none have been passed into law. 65,000 surviving spouses have been denied their earned and paid for benefits, some waiting for over 4 decades for this moment in time. Those with young children who have selected the child option forfeit their own survivor benefits for the rest of their lives. It's important to remember that military spouses move every 2 to 3 years with their service members and face unemployment rates at least 4 times higher than their civilian counterparts. Coupled with the inability to fully vest in their own retirement, the survivor benefit plan is essential to their financial security. Currently, the average offset widow loses nearly $12,000 a year, creating additional financial hardships for our military surviving spouses. On behalf of the more than 85,000 surviving families that TAPS has served since 1994, TAPS urges Congress to make 2019 the year we fully fund and pass legislation to fix this unjust tax on our surviving families. Families of America's fallen have sacrificed, and we should not be kept waiting any longer. God bless you and thank you for remembering those who have served and died for this nation this Memorial Day and always.
I want to thank Senator Risch for coming. He may have to step out real quick. So, Carlos?
Thank you, Senator Jones and Senator Collins, Senator Risch, and the more than 60 other senators who co-sponsored this important bill, and the more than 300 members of the House of Representatives who support the more than 65,000 surviving military spouses and dependents who are unjustly penalized because their loved one made the ultimate sacrifice for our country. Message this termed widow's tax sends to service members, veterans, and their families is that our government salutes their service while in uniform, but they cost too much if they die on active duty or from service-connected injuries. The VFW is proud to stand with our colleagues at TAPS, NMFA, Gold Star Wives of America, the American Legion, DAV, Military Officers Association of America, Military Order of the Purple Heart, and the Wounded Warrior Project and others who join us here today to call on the Senate to pass the Military Widows Tax Elimination Act of 2019. Congress must end this injustice, and we hope that others who aren't able to join us here today are able to join us on social media as we storm the Hill tomorrow and use the hashtag #AxeTheWidow's Tax. With that, thank you very much, Mr. Senator Jones, and I'll turn it back to you.